Tradition is one of the most stubborn of barriers when it comes to the truth, and we humans are addicted by habit to tradition.
Everything we do in this life is a consequence, and the consequence is most great with our walk as believers.
Be prepared for some startling discoveries when you open the Scriptures for yourself.
That's great.
I'd like to welcome you to a very special Discover the Truth program. This will be part 3 of our 3-part series reviewing the Pro-Life Initiative. With me, I have Alan Mansager, our other co-host, and a very special guest, Carol Tobias from the National Right to Life Committee. Carol, you have over 30 years of experience in the abortion or pro-life initiative, and also 3 years as president for the National Right to Life Committee. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the National Right to Life and also about yourself, if you would.
Okay. National Right to Life is the largest and oldest pro-life organization in the country, having started in 1968. We have an affiliate in each of the 50 states with about 3,000 local chapters working in their communities and in their counties. We work mainly in the areas of education, legislation, and political action, doing what we can in those areas to protect unborn children from abortion. But we're also very concerned about euthanasia and rationing of health care for the elderly and the disabled. We're very concerned about Obamacare because it will subsidize abortion, increase the subsidies, federal subsidies for abortion, and also ration health care for the elderly and the disabled. So we work in those arenas. I've been involved for more than 30 years, working with North Dakota Right to Life, and then as political director for National Right to Life, and 3 years as president, working with absolutely wonderful people.
Well, it's a blessing to have you with us, so thank you again for being here. I want to begin by saying, number one, that this program is not to condemn those who've had abortions or who've made this mistake. As we talked about in the second series, that we can find forgiveness if we confess those sins and repent from those sins. So forgiveness can always be found, and again, we're not here to condemn. Now I want to recap what we reviewed with the first 2 programs in case you want to go back and look at those. We looked at the number of abortions here and abroad. You know, we saw that over 40 million abortions, I think, in 2008 alone, worldwide. Different stages of abortion. You did a great job reviewing that and helping us understand what happens and how that occurs. Evidence that life begins in the womb. We saw that from both a medical standpoint and also scriptural standpoint. For instance, we know that Jeremiah was known in the womb. We know that John the Baptist was known in the womb, also received the Holy Spirit while in the womb, and also Paul was called and appointed as a prophet while in the womb. So we know that from both medical and scriptural evidence that life does begin in the womb. The impact of abortion, we talked about how many people suffer, and we did on the last program, and it was very informative. Reasons for abortion, and saw that for the most part, many reasons are for convenience, and a very small portion for medical reasons. Less than 1% for rape, I believe it was. And also some preventative measures, pregnancy centers and adoption and that sort of thing, which I think is very important to understand. I want to talk about how to respond. I know we talked a little bit about this in the previous programs, but help us better to know how to respond to those who've had abortions.
We need to make sure that they understand we aren't judging, we aren't condemning. The pro-life movement has never tried to go after the woman who's had an abortion. Occasionally you'll hear, oh, we want to put women in jail. No, the pro-life movement has never tried. There has never been a case where a woman who had an abortion was sent to jail. That's not our purpose. That's not our goal. We want abortionists to stop killing babies. But the women who are getting the abortions, in many cases, are being forced into it either by their boyfriend or the father of the baby, or it might be their parents thinking you're too young to have a baby, you're still in school, and the parents will take her to get the abortion. Sometimes it might be that the parents are embarrassed that the people in their church are going to know that their daughter was sexually active. So they would rather do the abortion so that they can hide the secret. So we look at the woman as, I don't want to say a second victim, but in many ways she is. and we certainly don't judge or condemn. I talked to one woman some time ago that told me that she had actually had 7 abortions.
Boy.
And she said she was using it as birth control. She would get pregnant and she'd get an abortion. She'd get pregnant and she'd get an abortion. She just didn't think anything of it. She said, and then I became a Christian and I realized what I had done. And instead of, yes, she sought forgiveness and was able to accept what had happened, but I don't want to say she turned that into good, but that is kind of what I think she would say she was doing, because now she works as a counselor on a national hotline so that other women who have had abortions and are kind of struggling, maybe they regret the abortion, they're trying to figure out how to deal with it, can call and talk, and she might be one of them on the other phone answering. And she knows exactly what they are thinking and feeling, because she can help. There are Bible studies for women who want to go through them to understand God's love and forgiveness. There are many ways that the woman can get help, but we as people walking with her, whether it's family members, co-workers, friends, need to make sure that she knows that we'll help her, we'll listen, we'll do what we can to help her get through this.
I know we talked about this in the previous program, but I want you to just give a brief description again of the pregnancy centers and some of the benefits that they offer. I think it's important for these ladies to understand that there's help out there. And as you pointed out, there's more pregnancy centers and abortion clinics.
There are less than 1,800, somewhere between 1,700 and 1,800 abortion facilities in the country, but around 2,500 pregnancy resource centers where a woman who is pregnant can go for help, either clothing, maternity clothes, baby clothes, diapers, prenatal care. They will help her get some medical help and care, do an ultrasound for her, do educational and career training classes. Not all of them offer this. It kind of depends on the community and the volunteers and the resources that they get. But many of these resource centers are really willing to be there and to help the woman, to walk through a difficult time.
Yeah, well, it's great to know, and I think it's a great resource for those ladies contemplating abortion and a good place for help.
I'll say 2 quick things I want to just throw out. This isn't just women who are dealing with the aftermath of abortion. It's the fathers as well. Now, certainly some of the women get abortions because they think their boyfriend or their husband are pushing them into it. But there are many men out there who want the responsibility. They would be happy to stick with her and take care of that child, and they don't have that option because in this country, the woman is the only one that gets to make that decision. I was at a meeting once where a woman stood up and said that she had spoken at a conference with church youth, and a young teenage boy came up after she was done, and she started talking, and she just collapsed in her arms, started bawling. His girlfriend had gotten pregnant, and he wanted to help her with that baby. Her parents, as I mentioned earlier, being afraid of what the other church members are going to think, forced her to get an abortion. He lost his right, his responsibility to be a father. His baby was dead. So the men that are involved, those who want to take responsibility and take, for their actions and get involved, often are suffering as much as the women are, because their baby is dead. I think that's a great point. And many people that don't realize it, there's still a father involved, and whether they're married or not, that man identifies with that child as his child. Yes, he does.
And that is a very, very important point.
Yeah, there's 3 people involved. There's the father, the mother, and the baby. It's not just I have a right to do what I want with my body and ignore the other 2. But that's what they do. They focus and make it just the woman's issue.
So it depends on the couple. She might want the baby and he doesn't.
Right.
But there are times when she doesn't want the baby and he does. So we need to make sure that we're also aware that there are a lot of hurting men in this country as well.
Yeah. We have about 2 minutes left in this segment, and I want to talk a little bit about the growing acceptance of pro-life. We've seen a shift in the last few years, so help us understand this change in dynamics and how now more people are leaning towards the pro-life view instead of the pro-choice.
We started seeing the switch sometime in the mid to late 1990s, where people were starting to say, I'm not so sure I want to identify myself as pro-choice, because at the time the partial birth abortion ban, the nationwide ban was being discussed, so they were hearing about babies with arms and legs and brains being sucked out, and they started realizing, I'm not pro-choice. So what we have seen over the past several years is that the numbers do seem to be maybe gelling a little bit for the pro-life side, and I think it's more accurate to look not just at, do people say that they are pro-life or that they are pro-choice, but when should abortion be legal? It's easy to say, yeah, I think it's up to the woman. But when you start asking them, should it be legal all the time? They'll say, well, no. Should it be legal in most circumstances? Well, probably not. And you can start getting people down to where right now in the country, we have somewhere around maybe 58% of the people saying that abortion should be allowed only if the mother's life is in danger, or cases of life rape or incest, or they would say only in very few cases. That the majority of people are very uncomfortable with abortion as it is practiced in this country, where it's legal for all 9 months in most states for any reason.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I was online, from Operations Rescue, it had an article there in Abortions in America, and it had a chart showing a strong shift in opinion on abortion. I'll just read the statement here. It says, a recent poll found 51% of Americans identify themselves as, quote, pro-life on the issue of abortion, and 42% as pro-choice. It's the first time since 1995 that a majority of U.S. adults have identified themselves as pro-life. So that's a great shift. I mean, it's about 10 years where we find that more people are pro-life than pro-choice. And that's quite a difference, too, 51 versus 42. Now, explain the gap there, if you can, for us.
Well, there are some people who just don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 51, 42, it comes up to 93%, so what happened to the other 7?
Yeah.
They don't know, or they wouldn't say.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's a great trend we're seeing in this nation.
It is.
We're going to take a short break. We're going to come back, then we're going to talk about the war on women and some of the politics. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Since the infamous court case of Roe v. Wade in 1973, over 50 million babies have been aborted. Over the decades, we've seen and heard heated protests on both sides. While abortion has become a political issue, it has always been a moral issue. The Bible confirms that our Father Yahweh loves both the born and the unborn. In our booklet, The Value of Life, we examine the abortion issue from many facets, including the number and demographics of abortion, reasons why women choose abortion, and its physical and psychological impact. We also show evidence from both medical science and the Bible that life begins in the womb. In addition, this publication offers real alternatives and solutions to abortion, including information on interim foster care and adoption. We also answer the important question, is it possible to find forgiveness for abortion? If you are concerned or would like to learn more about the abortion issue or possibly contemplating this course, we encourage you to request this free booklet. It will open your eyes to what so many are missing in this age of disregard for what is holy. Request our free booklet now by dialing 1-573-896-1000 or write to Discover the Truth, P.O. Box 463, Holt Summit, Missouri 65043. Read and request from our website, yrm.org.
If you want a Bible that answers the hard questions, then the Restoration Study Bible is for you. This resource offers insight and clarity found nowhere else. The Restoration Study Bible examines the source languages behind the English text to reveal original meanings. In addition to restoring the sacred names Yahweh and Yahshua, this unique Bible has thousands of eye-opening study notes, cross-references, charts, a topical reference, Strong's numbering, and the Strong's Hebrew and Greek dictionaries. You can receive your own Restoration Study Bible valued at $60 for a donation of only $25 plus shipping and handling. Order online at yrm.org/Bible or by credit card Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time by calling 573-896-1000. Don't delay. This brand new and fascinating Bible will change your life.
Welcome back. When we left off, we were talking about the growing acceptance of the pro-life initiative. I want to talk now about the political aspect, if you will, of the pro-life abortion issue. And there's this concept, this phrase, war on women, and that we keep hearing about in the news. And maybe you can help us understand what that means and what the impact of that is.
The war on women can sometimes be used in a variety of issues, but it was primarily designated as the war on women by President Obama and his allies in the 2012 election, and they were trying to put pro-lifers on the defense. And they started talking about, well, if they brought it in with the HHS mandate under Obamacare as to whether or not religious institutions had to provide contraceptives for their employees, but they broadened it, and they're kind of including abortion in that as well. And it's come down to now where if you think there's any reason a woman shouldn't get an abortion, you're waging a war on women, because that's her right. That's, it's her body, and she can do whatever she wants. I happen to look at it slightly differently, of course, that the abortion advocates are the ones that are waging the war on women. Because states are trying to pass legislation that would say the woman should get information about the abortion procedure before she makes that decision. The abortionist should have to give her that information like any doctor does for any other medical procedure. But abortion is the one issue that in many states you don't have to say anything, you don't have to tell her anything. But they don't want her to have that information because they're afraid that she might change her mind. Well, that's not being pro-woman. If she can't change her mind once she learns more, gets more facts. They are pushing webcam abortions, which is, we had talked in one show about the chemical abortion, where a woman is given, 2 pills. She takes one, that pill kills the baby. The second pill will expel the baby from the uterus. Well, Planned Parenthood has started doing these now over the internet. So Skyping. So an abortionist can be sitting in his office in one city and talking to a woman over the computer in another city, maybe even in another state. He will push a button on his computer that opens a drawer in the room where she is seated, and she can take those 2, she'll have those 2 pills. One is going to kill the baby, and the other one he'll say, go home and take that in a day or 2, and that will expel the baby. But that's a very dangerous procedure. And yet, that's the war on women. That the abortionist is nowhere around if she does have severe hemorrhaging problems or if something goes wrong. That is the war on women. There are so many ways, some of the states are trying to just pass basic legislation to say, safety and health regulations that apply to other freestanding clinics have to also apply to abortion facilities. Well, the abortion advocates fight that. They don't want the safety and health standards for their abortion facilities. Well, why not? That's not pro-woman to think, we don't have to keep...
Well, they had the case in Texas recently where they had to meet certain standards,
right.
the clinics, the abortion clinics.
Right, and the abortion advocates just want no limits whatsoever on abortion. And that is not being pro-woman. In California, they actually changed the law so that now non-physicians can perform first trimester surgical abortions. Well, if you're going to reduce the standard of care that is required for that abortion procedure, how is that pro-woman? There are just so many things that I think really they are the ones that don't care about women. They don't want them to get the information. They don't want them to know that there are alternatives available. If you really care about the woman, why not tell her that there is support, and if she wants to keep her baby or if she wants to continue the pregnancy, she can get that help. They don't want her to know that information. Their concern is to make sure that there's a dead baby.
We would think that this concept of war on women would suppose that all women were for abortion, but all women are not for abortion.
Actually, women tend to be more pro-life than men do.
Yeah. And yet, this is for the woman. So you're right. It is political, and it's a shame that we're seeing this topic used in a political way. The murder, really, of an unborn baby. I want to talk about because we have about 6 minutes left in the segment, and I want to do two things. I want to understand better the history and the current politics, if you will, of Planned Parenthood. And I also want to give you the opportunity to help people understand how they can support National Right to Life. So let's transition if we can, and you can help us understand the history and the politics of Planned Parenthood.
Well, Planned Parenthood they are the nation's largest abortion provider. They conduct about 27 to 29% of all abortions in the United States. The latest year that the figures are available, 2012, they did more than 327,000 abortions in this country. That is one every 96 seconds. Now, they would say that they offer abortion referrals, but for out of every 150 women that came into their facility who were pregnant, 149 got an abortion and one was referred for adoption. That's really not a big focus for them. This organization has annual revenues of more than $1 billion. In 2012, it was $1.2 billion. 45% of that came from tax dollars, either federal, state, or local, grants and contracts. So they're killing babies on one hand and then taking our tax dollars for, their services on the other.
How is this pay that they receive, these tax dollars, what's it predicated on?
Well,
is it on the number of abortions they do, or is it something else?
Well, there is a federal law that says they cannot use the federal funds for abortions, but they can use the federal funds to advertise or to remodel a building or to pay for their bookkeeper. Well, then that frees up other funds that they can use to promote abortion.
I'm saying if they would then try to avoid the abortion and send the woman to, some better alternative, is that going to impact the money they get if they do it that way?
It would. If you figure 327,000 abortions at roughly $450 abortion, they're making 20% of that $1 billion, a couple $100,000 from abortion every year. They also can get the money through HUD grants. I know of one place where they were building a new facility and they worked with the city council and they were able to get money through the Housing and Urban Development
Talk about the
department.
How they originated and what the
Planned Parenthood's original founder was Margaret Sanger, who is known very much as a racist, a eugenicist. She was very concerned that unfit people shouldn't be having babies. She wanted to push birth control on the black community. She was very much trying to target them. She didn't want all these black people, reproducing. And the black community knows very much that Planned Parenthood has racist beginnings. What's interesting, though, is that Margaret Sanger did not approve of abortion. She actually called it barbaric, and she said that abortionists were blood-sucking men with MD after their names. So the founder of Planned Parenthood, very much racist, and we only the fit and the smart people should reproduce. But for her, abortion was not the solution. Planned Parenthood does go after the minorities, as we talked in one of the programs. They put 79% of their abortion facilities in neighborhoods that are targeting majority black or Hispanic neighborhoods. So they really do go after those minorities. So they've got a history that they should not be very proud of.
And what was the percentage of blacks aborting babies? You said it was close to 1/3.
12% of the population is black, African American, and yet they have 1/3 of the abortions in this country. Hispanics make up 16% of the population, and they have 25% of the abortions. So Planned Parenthood very much targets the minority communities. That's where they put their centers.
Yeah,
and you're saying that where they put their emphasis is where you're going to see the results.
Well, sure. If you're going to build this nice new abortion facility a few blocks from what is known as a majority minority city or population center,
Sure.
They're targeting that population.
So in many ways, they cater to different races, knowing that that's an epidemic within that culture. And the Bible is very clear that we should not discriminate. And we know Scripture says there's no Greek, there's no Jew, there's no male, there's no female. We're all one Messiah. And we certainly here at this program don't believe that discrimination should ever be something that we allow in culture, or certainly within the church or the assembly. And it's sad to see them playing politics in this way. We have about a minute and a half, and I want to give you time so that people know how to support. Because we believe in your cause. We believe in the organization, National Right to Life, and we want to let people know how they can support you. So do that now if you would.
Thank you. The best way, I think, for people to find us would be go to our website. It's just www.nrlc.org. They can get all kinds of information about legislation. There are fact sheets on abortion and statistics. A lot of different things that are available on there. There's also a little button about NRLC explains who we are. If anyone wants to, there's a donate button there that they can click on. We operate on donations. We have no government grants or contracts like Planned Parenthood. And we've 50 state affiliates that we'd love to plug any volunteer in to work with them and to help make a difference.
Well, thank you. I'd like to thank, or especially Carol and Alan both, and for being here and sharing your insight. Because again, this pro-life initiative is such an important work you're doing. The bottom line is it's a travesty what we're seeing in this nation today through the abortions. And it's time that we speak up. It's time that people realize what's happening and the atrocities that are being committed. So I thank you for being here, and I again thank Alan for being part of this as well.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
I pray that it's been a blessing to our viewers, and pray that you would support the National Right to Life and also this ministry, and that you would support the pro-life initiatives in general and be part of the solution. Pray that this program has been a blessing for you, and pray that Yahweh's blessings would be with you. Bye-bye.
For today's free offer, call now. Operators are standing by. Dial 1-573-896-1000 or write to the address on your screen. Request online by visiting one of the most extensive religious websites on the internet, yrm.org. Help support Discover the Truth. Donate by credit card by calling during regular office hours, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time, or give online, donate.yrm.org. For a one-time yearly donation of $25 or more, we would like to send you a gift, a one-year subscription to our bi-monthly Restoration Times magazine. This magazine will unlock Bible truth that will simply amaze you. For more information or to read online, visit restorationtimes.org. Join us again next week as we take you on a journey of understanding, walking the pathways of the Messiah and his apostles, exploring the Hebraic origins of the faith, and carving away man's tradition as we discover the truth.